Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I have an article here and I read it and I couldn't figure out what the hell the Ukrainians are talking about. So maybe you can figure it out. This article comes from Ukrainska Pravda from October 6, 2022. This is the title. Ukraine reacts to negotiations proposed by Russian Federation. It's all lies. All right, what the hell? It's interesting that Russian Federation, proposed negotiations. I said, okay, let's go. And what's the lie? I want to find out. It's all lie. And who said that? The Ukrainian parliament rejected the proposal of the Russian parliament to sit down at the negotiating table. So who wants to negotiate and who doesn't want to negotiate? All right? The Ukrainians did not receive an order to negotiate yet. And I said, these guys, the Russian parliament should send that to the US, not to the Ukrainian parliament. So, earlier at the G20 Parliamentary Speakers Summit in Indonesia, Valentina Matvienko, head of the Federation Council of Russia, proposed the delegation of Ukraine, headed by Kondratyuk, to, quote-unquote, urgently sit down at the negotiating table, end quote. Is that something bad? No. I think it's good. We can sit down, exchange information. No, we disagree. Yes, we disagree, and exit. All right? That's what a normal person would do, I would think. If a person who really wants to see, okay, what are you talking about? Let's see. Put it on the table. Quote from Kodranchuk. This is the Ukrainian one. And I'm quoting. I'm glad that my today's speech at the G20 summit in Indonesia, with a call to the parliaments of world countries to condemn the crimes of the Russian sham referendums and the annexation of our territories, was supported by all democracies, and it also forced the Russians to lie about the negotiations once again, now already in the parliaments. Frankly speaking, only one lie remained from the previous pathos and arrogance of Matvienko's, the collective word meaning all who can have the same position as Matvienko, head of the Federation Council of Russia. All those who voted for the annexation of Ukrainian territories are war criminals. No one will negotiate with them. All of them will answer in the international tribunal. Ukraine is winning and will win, end quote. What was the lie? I'm going back to this. Frankly speaking, only one lie remained from the previous pathos and arrogance of Matvienko's. Okay, or what is the lie? Those guys wanted to talk to you, to negotiate. And you say, we don't negotiate with terrorists. Well, I remember one country who blew up a television anchor, I think she was. You remember Daria Dugina? She was blown up, according to a U.S. report, with the Ukrainian order. Ukrainian government was involved in that. So who's a terrorist here? I mean, if those guys committed war crimes, you certainly did as well. So what are you talking about? So where's the lie? I didn't catch what's the lie. It says at the G8 G20 summit in Indonesia, Valentina Matvienko, head of the Russian Federation Council of the Russian Federation, proposed the delegation of Ukraine to sit down at the negotiating table. And I'm quoting, let's just sit down at the negotiating table today at the G20 venue. The Russian parliament and the Ukrainian parliament, let's try to understand each other, find an agreement, end quote, she said. I thought it was very reasonable and the other person said, no, you're war criminals, we're not going to talk to you. Those are the parliament. Are they war criminals? And if yes, why? And if they are war criminals, then by association with the government, then the Americans are war criminals by association with the Ukrainians who were involved in killing that journalist, Daria Dugina. So if we go like that, we can go that since I live in the United States of America and my country provides armament to a terrorist country, that would get me to be a terrorist by association? Is that how it goes? After all, those guys over there were the elected people through a democratic process that we love of Russia. So then all the Russians are considered terrorists or war criminals now because they voted to these guys that had nothing to do. They didn't vote anything to start the war or anything. They agreed with the annexation. Okay, the annexation was done through some referenda that you say were fake. These guys said no, they voted. So why should I believe you? Why should I believe them? The fact is, those guys voted. Was I over there? No, I wasn't over there. Were you? Makashenko, Shukalangumchuk, Makamaka? No, you weren't there. So why should I believe you? Why should I believe the other ones? And okay, people lie. You never lied, Macha Concha? No, never? I mean, it's just, if you're not pure, I'm not going to talk to you. Well, are you? No. So then, why don't you use the same standard to both of us? I mean, you're part of a government that not only did that, did other stuff too. Do you think that Ukraine, in its bombardments and its all these missiles and rockets that they shelled territories, do you think that they never hurt one civilian, or two, or 100? It's hard for me to believe their missiles, when they fell, oh, civilians, go back, go somewhere else. Do you think that's how it's done? No, I'm pretty sure that it happened both sides. So to claim that those guys are the only criminals of war, but you were, I mean, please. So, and I didn't understand why not. I tell you why not. She didn't want to negotiate or talk, not even talk. Because those guys in Washington, they don't want to talk. They don't want peace. They want Russia destroyed. And until that they got the Russians eventually where they want to get them for a long time. And they got them now. And they had to. The Russians could not allow for their safety to have nuclear weapons and foreign armies next to their border. Like United States would not like to have, let's say, Russian missiles in Mexico. Correct? Correct. So then if that rule is good for you, then it should be good for me, right? No. Why? Because you want to be in charge and you want me to be your vassal. And Russia doesn't want to do that. Therefore, you got to turn it into that. How? Voila. That's one example. And the same thing will be tried with China. Because China doesn't want to be a vassal state either. And they're going to use probably Taiwan and other weasel methods. So, who wants to negotiate and who doesn't? I mean, if I would be in a war, I would like to. I mean, what is the end game here? Do you think that the end game is what? Do you think the Ukrainians will be satisfied if the Russians just leave the territories and leave their Russian population at the mercy of the Ukrainian troops that for 8 years were killing these guys? Do you think so? Why would they do that? And then the Ukrainians were going to just shake hands and give them bread, wine, and milk, and eggs, and everything, and take care of them, and embrace them, and get them into the Ukrainian nation. All of a sudden, do you think that's what's going to happen over there? I think that a lot of people will be rounded up and killed. That's what I think. You know why? Because if you look back in history, that's happened every time an army occupied another one, including in Iraq. You don't believe me? Look what they did, only what we found out at Abu Ghraib. Look what they did over there. And if they did that over there with prisoners, what do you think happened in the field? Do you think there were no civilians killed? There were videos showing that. Did you watch those videos with the helicopter? And the communication by the Americans. And there were civilians. Pop, 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 pop. That's only one example. How many other happened? I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that was not the only one. That it happened just to trickle down to us. So, I hate when people argue, or not only argue, they treat other people as if have no sins. They are perfect. And since the other side has some, no, remember the little needle or whatever in your eye, in your beam? The same here, from the scriptures. The same here. No. Really? All right. Next time when you read an article or you hear someone say the Russians don't want to negotiate, just think of this. This is one of multiple examples. And then again, well, I'm not going to negotiate with Putin, Zelensky. I'm not going to, because they're war criminals. What are you? Do you think you're better? Obviously. Well, a little bit of self-awareness is needed. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.